Hello and welcome, everyone. My name is Sam, otherwise known as Rare Warrington, and welcome to another episode of Kooky Quest. Today, we have a special guest, a Kooky crew member and a longtime friend of the channel, a DK superfan friend who I'm pleased to have join us today, TheJustintendos. And if you guys haven't checked out his channel, please do so. He's an excellent content creator, has a ton of DK content. He's just played through DK64 and has a lot of content around that. How you doing today, Justin?
I am doing really well, man. Doing really well. Happy to be here.
Good. So today we actually have a really cool subject. My partner Drew is really excited for this game. We don't have a whole lot planned for talking about DK Bananza, but I could talk about DK personally forever and ever. So today we have assigned ourselves this Kooky Quest. Kooky Quest is the show where we review and discuss recent gaming news, gaming releases, and today we're going to be talking about our final hopes, thoughts, and theories about DK Bananza going into the release here in less than a week from today. So pretty exciting, man. And we're going to go ahead and open up with our brief past with the Donkey Kong franchise, both individually in our lives and on our individual channels here. So basically, Donkey Kong to me, and I mean, like I've said in other videos, like you guys have seen on our channel, it's one of my favorite, if not my favorite, gaming franchise to date. Honestly, you guys could have seen some of our past content. If you haven't, go check out, like we've just uploaded a Kooky compilation of our Kong-pilation, which was a lot of our old streams that we brought to the channel. We really love Donkey Kong on this channel, and personally in my life, like I said, it's been probably the most important franchise to me growing up. Obviously, I played some of the Donkey Kong arcade on the NES growing up. I've continued to the Donkey Kong Country games where I fell in love with the franchise, and man, 11 years now after the last Donkey Kong game, the last new Donkey Kong game, Tropical Freeze, I am just over the moon excited going into this release this week, man. And how about you, Justin? What's some of your history with the Donkey Kong franchise there?
So yeah, kind of similar to you, I have talked about it plenty of times on my channel, but essentially the Game Boy Advance port of the original Donkey Kong Country, which I'll still defend all three of those games on the Game Boy Advance, was my introduction. My grandparents used to watch us a lot when my parents would be at work. And so, I was super little, I think maybe 4 or 5. And then they would, let us play on the Game Boy Advance SPs. And one of the very few games they had was Donkey Kong Country. And so that just completely enamored me. And I couldn't believe what I was seeing, because the fact that a game this big, and at that time, and several years later, I didn't even know that those were ports, right? I thought this was a Game Boy Advance trilogy. I didn't know they were ports of a Super Nintendo game, but not until I got much later. But yeah, that not only, started my love for the franchise, but also started my love, I think, for just being a video game fan connoisseur in general, because just the immense impact that port had on me. And then obviously, yeah, I've gone my entire lifetime without a 3D Donkey Kong. I was born in 2001, and so I have never lived through a 3D Donkey Kong, as sad as that is. Obviously, I've played 64, but yeah, I have lived through a alarmingly low number of legit new Donkey Kong games. So Bananza is a breath of fresh air to the highest degree. I cannot wait. But yeah, that was the game, the Game Boy Advance port.
That's awesome. And I have a few buddies that started with the Game Boy Advance ports, and Rare really I mean, this can probably be said of most of the software they work on, but they really do push the boundaries on what they can do with certain hardware. It's really impressive.
It was crazy. I still can't believe it. It runs and it looks great. Yeah,
they're really great ports. In fact, some of the GBA, the Donkey Kong Country 3, Evelyn Fisher did most of the Super Nintendo port, but David Wise, so much of the GBA, if you guys haven't heard it, the GBA soundtrack for Donkey Kong Country 3 is just so good. It's
so good, kind of so different.
Yeah, it's almost like Tropical Freeze before Tropical Freeze, of course, to fit on a GBA cart. But yeah, moving on. Basically, Justin also, as I said before, has done a lot of theories and thoughts about Bananza. So we're going to transition into kind of briefly discussing the impact the trailer itself and the direct has had. This hype cycle, I'm sure you can relate, Justin. This hype cycle has been, it's only been 3 months. It's not been one of the longest hype cycles for a game, but man, it has been just full of excitement. And I want to shout out a few content creators, because us Donkey Kong fans have been eating pretty good the past couple months, especially now that we know about Bonanza. But we are especially just like having a buffet of just speculation and Kong content. I want to make a quick shout out to TheJustintendos, of course, here on the channel today, as well as Uncle Al, Skips, who kind of helps with a lot of Uncle Al's sort of speculations in social media there. Don't Mind Joe, who has done a lot of really great connections from Donkey Kong Bonanza to Journey to the West, so that old Buddhist story. Really good stuff. Too Crispy, who's done a lot. He also did the Kong alphabet translations. A really, really cool content creator. And of course, the guys who brought me into like the rare community DK space online, DK Vine. Kyle Russell and the team have still been covering Donkey Kong since, I believe, 1999, and they're still going strong. So if you haven't heard of any of those channels, I'm sure you have if you've followed Donkey Kong. Definitely give them a subscribe and check them out. They're all great guys. But yeah, so going into our kind of final thoughts and theories, I was thinking before really the confirmation here recently in this interview, which we'll go over the interview a little bit here. But I noticed during the direct that Pauline was kind of singing each individual Bonanza. You could kind of see like music notes coming off of Pauline. So I had a theory that like Pauline probably sang maybe an individual song for each Bonanza. And it seems like that's more or less going to be the case. In an interview here, I actually have a couple screenshots I'll go ahead and put on the screen, and I'll have the interview in a description below. It just came out the day before yesterday, I believe. But so this was an interview with the Donkey Kong Bonanza developers, and I'm going to butcher the names, but two of the lead developers, Motakura and Takahashi, who are both at Nintendo EPD respectively. They're both working on this game right now, and IGN actually did a review, and like I said, I'll put that in the description there. And Motakura said, well, I would say the very original impetus for the development of Donkey Kong Bonanza was when my boss, Mr. Koizumi, who, if you guys know Koizumi, was actually the lead director of Jungle Beat, as well as a few Mario games. He said he approached their team and asked them to consider working on a 3D Donkey Kong game. So that was kind of what sparked Nintendo's process, or Nintendo EPD's process of working on this game. He, however, said when it came to Pauline, they knew that they needed sort of like someone to go along with DK on this little journey here, and they were wondering what they should go with, and it came with, as he said, when they were developing the Bonanzas, that Pauline just worked out like so well because they were discussing what type of character would be accompanying Donkey Kong on his travels, and in the early stages, when they were developing the Bonanzas, someone had suggested Pauline, that she might be a good choice, and Pauline was not directly implemented into the game at that time. But when the moment they actually really clicked with Pauline is when, while creating the Bonanzas, the composer created a song, like some music for the Bonanzas, and they were all so good and individually themed to the Bonanzas, he goes on to say, that they would think to themselves, maybe Pauline would be a good choice to sing during that song. So they started kind of adding in like vocals, and they came to find out that like, yeah, it seems to fit. It seems like the transformations, each song respectively kind of represents them, and it really cemented Pauline's space or place in the game, as he said. So it seems to be that my theory was correct, that each song will indeed, or each Bonanza will indeed have its own respective song. So pretty darn cool there. Of course, Justin, I don't know if like I said, you have a ton of content on your channel talking about this. Do you have any other theories or anything that you've seen from news that's popped up yet that's made you curious about what will happen in the game there?
Not anything official. As videos that I've made, as videos that Too Crispy has made, Uncle Al has made, all those people, obviously can't talk about theories without talking about K. Rool. But anything official, I mean, having her directly tied to the Bonanza with songs makes so much sense to me, because in kind of this iteration / generation that we find ourselves in with, is this a prequel to Odyssey? Like, what is this? And then I think it might have been that same interview where they're like, you're gonna have to play and find out. Like, we're not gonna tell you, but you'll probably find out through gameplay. And I think when you first enter New Donk City, I guess not first enter, but you go through that entire incredible set piece, right? The whole reason a lot of people remember Odyssey is the New Donk City and Jump Up Superstar. That whole thing is just so spectacular and one of the best moments in any game I've ever seen. And so having her directly tied to the Bonanzas instantly made sense to me. And I think them each having their own song makes more sense because, again, this franchise, a lot of people, if they're not, huge video game fans, if you ask them, like, what's one thing that the Donkey Kong games have always had, it's incredible music. And I think that just makes so much sense to me because it's always been the music, whether it was Grant Kirkhope, whether it was David Wise, Evelyn Fisher, whatever, it's always been the music. And so I think that makes a lot of sense.
Oh yeah, totally true. And like, yeah, I mean, like you said, like one of the more iconic, like memorable moments in, I was gonna say New Donk City, but in Odyssey in general is like you said, the Jump Up Superstar, the songs that feature Pauline singing. So like, that kind of brings us into our next point here of like the Pauline inclusion, de-aged, and the kind of just the placement of the timeline. So I'm still not sure. I think myself, I still lean towards like the de-aging theory. There's a lot of theories regarding, like you said, both K. Rool, timeline, Pauline herself. I still lean, I think, towards the de-aging. So far, what we do know about Voidco is that they have the ability to trap things and apparently people in rocks. So I don't know to what extent their power like can alter other things like age and like forms. I know we have the Bananza forms now, so with transformations and like rock sort of prison transformations kind of established in the game's lore, I think sky's the limit as far as like what Voidco themselves can do as far as like altering the age of characters, or maybe just some people have even theorized that there's some time travel elements. I don't know. But going back to the interview with the devs, so Motokura actually did comment on this. IGN asked him, they asked, I think a lot of people were surprised when you confirmed a specific age for Pauline, that she's 13. Why did you specify her age and why is she young in this game? Takahashi then responded and said, well, one of the more important roles that we knew we wanted this character to accomplish was in accompanying Donkey Kong on his travels and acting in some cases as a bit of a narrator. And considering we would have a lot of new players, that it would maybe help them like kind of like digest and like the perspectives of like, which in my opinion, I don't think it's too much of a justification. Because like, for instance, you've just played through DK64. Like, even if you're talking to a rock or a rabbit or a Kong, I mean, technically you don't really need that like narration, but I will say it does give a good excuse to put in some voice acting there, which I think is a really cool element for sure. Yeah, I mean, what theories do you have, Justin? I mean, as far as like the timeline and Pauline's inclusion, what are you leaning towards, man?
It is super interesting to think about because, excuse me, you have like several different sides of this, because I've seen reviews where it's like, well, maybe the Kongs don't age, normally, so maybe this is far back in the past and Pauline is just younger. But then people are like, well, if they don't age, then why is Cranky Kong old, right? It's like that kind of debunks it a little bit. Like, obviously they do age because he's now old and he used to not be old. And so obviously there's some logistical errors there. I 100% lean towards the de-aging. She's awfully small for 13, I'll say that. But even if she is, like, and this might be me reaching, but some of the things that she was saying, like in those trailers with the voice acting, which sounds great, by the way, she sounds like, not like pitch wise, but she sounded awfully mature. Like when she was standing up to Voidco, like, you guys leave me alone, I'm going to go with DK. I'm like, you better have a lot of faith in DK because you are a little girl and these monkeys are very big and scary. So I'm pretty much 100% team de-aging that, she was trapped in a rock and maybe that made her a kid. And that's why Donkey Kong is so shocked when he sees her in the trailer. That could be taken completely out of context. We don't know. We won't know until Thursday. But yeah, and then kind of going back to the trapped in a rock thing, that's also kind of making me hold out hope that maybe, just maybe, we'll see the DK crew in some capacity. Maybe they got trapped and they'll be, maybe they'll be there too, saying hi. But yeah, I'm 1,000% team de-aging. I think that it could very well be a prequel or a sequel to Odyssey, but I think just having it be the same Pauline, but she was just shrunken down. So that's where I stand.
See, I'm totally in agreement. And like, yeah, I mean, you mentioned about like trapping things in rocks. So I don't know. There's too much like credence in this theory, but there's also been a couple people, like Too Crispy has mentioned, that like people are theorizing that like we've seen some weird sort of rock NPCs that are in the shape of like giraffes.
I saw that video. Yep.
Yeah, we've seen one where he's the shape of an elephant. So like, I wonder if, obviously Nintendo's holding their cards close to their chest. but I wonder if maybe like we release some of these NPCs, like maybe they're in rock form for the time being, but their true form is actually an animal, maybe. But and then you kind of bringing up like trapped in rock sort of thing, like we'll talk more about this later, but I will just say we have gold, what seems to be Kremling skeletons stuck in rock. So I feel like Voidco is going to have a pretty big role to play there. Whether or not it's Kremlings remains to be seen, but we'll discuss a bit of that here in a minute. But yeah, as far as like Pauline, to finish up thoughts about Pauline, the interview actually does continue on. Moda Kura chimed in and said, and so we're always thinking about the setting of not just the world, but also each individual character itself and how it's going to impact player enjoyment in the end. Then Takahashi chimed in again and said, now as to why 13-year-old in particular was the choice, I think we're going to leave that to the players to find out in the game, and kind of like Justin just said a little earlier. So there's they know what they're doing. They're not blind to us, guys. They know we're out here speculating and theorizing and thinking about this stuff. So I feel like this game's really gonna probably like, I mean, if Odyssey is anything to go by as far as like plot twists and like some surprise inclusions, probably gonna bat it out of the park, I think. They also went to say, can you confirm Donkey Kong's age? To which Modokura said, I think that's another one that maybe is good fodder for player theories. So they're aware of us, guys. They're aware of us theorizing out here, and they want to see more of it. Free advertising.
No kidding.
Anyway, so to continue to like some of the like Bonanza potential and like NPC potential, we kind of touched a little bit upon the NPC potential. And like you said, like there's a good chance. I mean, I think there's a really good chance that we'll see more Kongs. We already have Diddy, Dixie. We got Rambi coming back. We got Cranky, of course. So there's a lot of, I'll chime in and say this over and over. There's a lot of potential for surprises. And this being the Nintendo EPD Odyssey team, I think a lot of what like, and I've said this before, those guys had a really good thing going. Like you said, they had the iconic Pauline song, which was present in the marketing, but they had a lot of iconic moments in that game. Like what with, spoiler alerts for anyone who hasn't played Odyssey for the next 15 seconds, but like the Dark Souls-esque dragon that just kind of pops up in the mid game, the end section where you can actually capture and play as Bowser, like those would have been heavy hitters to put into marketing. But I think this team has a sort of respect for the element of surprise in that like they leave some of this stuff for when you individually play the game yourself. And like, I just love that, man. So I think as far as like surprises, the potential is off the charts, man. And as I said, going forward, talking a little bit more about like the NPC and Bonanza potential, what with like the giraffe representation, the giraffe rocks, the elephant world, and you know what, Void Kong himself, like I think there's some potential for more Bonanzas past the 3 that we've already seen. And you know what, not to go into the K. Rool is Voidco or Void Kong theories, but transformations are in this game, guys. So I can't roll it out just yet. I don't lean towards that. But on the subject of Void Kong, I want to just quickly say, Nintendo Switch News app, if you guys have checked the news app on the Switch or Switch 2 consoles recently, they actually had a little news story that it's sort of a farce, but they made it in that it's coming directly from Voidco themselves. And if you guys haven't seen that, check it out, but I'll put it up on the screen here. And it's basically just a newsletter kind of like promoting the game and whatnot. And then it finishes off with a little strange thing. It says that Pauline and Donkey Kong are wanted, of course, because this is like propaganda from Void Kong and Voidco. But it says, our illustrious President Void Kong must reach there first, talking about the planet core. And then it says in sort of like brackets below, it says, oh, and did we mention that Void Kong is your boss? He's totally your boss. And it's like, what is that? That's so suspicious, man. Like, what do you mean? Oh, do we mention that Void Kong is your boss? He's totally your boss. And it's like, I don't know if that is a joke poking fun at the fact that they're like controlling, or if it's like a weird sort of, we know you guys are theorizing, here we go poking you. Oh yeah, he's totally the one in control. He's totally the boss. It's like, man, that just seems suspicious to me. I don't know.
It is.
What do you think about like as far as like Void Kong? Do you think he's the one in charge, Justin? Do you think there's someone else pulling the strings? What are your thoughts on that?
Oh man, how much time do you have? It's really interesting because if you would have asked me this even maybe a month ago, 2 months ago, I would have said, you know, guys, like we're grasping at straws here a little bit. Like we haven't seen, you know, like for all we know, like he's the boss. And everything that's come up, all of the theories that just seem too, what's the word? Intentional. Like there's not, it can't be coincidence. And yes, this 100% might just be Nintendo being Nintendo, and they have no idea that we want K. Rool back, which is, it's a possibility. It's Nintendo after all. And so maybe this is just them being silly. Like it's just them doing this and there's absolutely nothing more to it. But I don't think so, because the team that's working on this game has so much, not only experience, but also, like you said, they know how to market things. Like everything that was left out of Odyssey was left out for a reason. And I don't think that we have seen anything in the marketing for this game. And so it's not far-fetched at all to think that the Void Co. that we've seen surprisingly little, if they are the next big bads. We've had a little bit here and there, and like this little, this fun little article thing in the news was fun. But if I remember correctly, when Tropical Freeze came out, they went pretty hard with the Snowmads, and the Tiki Tak tribe especially. The Tiki Taks are huge in Nintendo world, and I just haven't seen that from anyone involved in the game from Void Co. Again, it could just be because maybe they have transformations, right? So maybe they are this weird race of Kong that knows stuff that we don't. But it just seems like they might just be cannon fodder. Like they might just be the end of Act 1 boss, and then boom, something else comes up, and they weren't the big bads after all. There's just a lot going against them, I think.
Yeah, I mean, like people say, where there's smoke, there's fire. I mean, I agree. Like the thing with Nintendo, it's like they're Nintendo. Like you said, like you can't predict Nintendo, man. We've all tried, we've all failed. But like I will say, the ballot, at least of this K. Rool sort of like in Smash Bros, at least I think does at least dictate that there's like somewhat, at least there is a somewhat awareness that Nintendo has. I would hope so, that like they know K. Rool is a big thing, a big inclusion for Smash. It's a big deal to a lot of people. But like you said, like even regarding the timeline, like there's so much that we've found and like can theorize around. But at the end of the day, if Nintendo just wants to say, hey, you know what, this is like a soft reboot, then that might be the case. I'm not leaning towards that being the actuality, but you know what? Like I said, it's Nintendo. It's hard to predict those guys. Right. But like you kind of brought up like with Tropical Freeze and like the Tiki Tak tribe and like the marketing surrounding that, even going back to like Nintendo EPD's past in games, like with Jungle Beat, the sort of like each individual world kind of had like enemy NPCs that kind of contributed to like what the big bad was of that representative like boss. And even like Mario Galaxy, like the Mario games, like it's like there are a lot of lesser versions of whatever the big bad, or at least one of the big bosses will be. It is so strange to see, I think what people call buzzoids, but especially these crocoids, just so present as like what seems to be the main enemy NPCs of the game. Like, so are we really truly to believe that like all these crocs, all these, what we've seen, so many different forms of them, I'll put them up on screen right now, but all these different forms and alternative like skins and styles, rolling ones, different types of terrain that makes them up, all these different types of crocoids that seem to have like Kremling-esque skeletons in there. Like they just almost seem random. They almost seem a bit out of place. Not to us old Donkey Kong fans that are theorizing, but yeah, man, I feel like there's a lot of potential there, and that's going to be a repeating point. There's a lot of potential for surprises, surely, and kind of like adding to that potential. I mean, really, if you look at the beginning, no one ever brings this up. Whenever anyone brings up that intro, which I'll show on the screen now, when Void Kong and Void Co. kind of introduce themselves, when they kind of run Ingot Isle into the ground, you see all these crocoids, and like there's that boulder theory that Kong Compendium had. Shout out to Kong Compendium, great stuff there too. But like, yeah, so those boulders are very suspicious, and there's so many different crocoids, those kind of rolling crocoids, the ones with the clubs, all present there. But no one seems to mention this weird, like liquid-esque bat-looking creature that's just sort of off to the side, kind of gliding next to them. It almost looks like a Korok on a set of like bat wings made of liquid. Yep. It's really strange. So like there's so much we don't know about this game. Even the Nintendo Direct, like we brought up earlier, it was just so many like mic drop moments that like I feel like, man, there's nothing but reason to believe that there's a lot we still don't know even now. Yep. But kind of going ahead into like the challenges and difficulty aspect. We'll come back into theories a little bit later, but Like I said before, I know Justin had just now played through, not even just played through, but fully complete 101% DK64. That being a game that I grew up with, of course, and all the Donkey Kong series, of course, has an element that people know for it and has a reputation for being quite challenging and to some quite difficult. So I mean, going into like kind of a DK64 comparison here, not that it's going to have challenges this difficult, but sometimes I do wonder, like, what will the difficulty be? Like, will it be kind of easier and more accessible, like Mario Odyssey and Mario Team tries to go for, or will it have like that reputation of like challenge and difficulty? I wonder that. Like, there's a lot of people who have gotten their hands on the like sort of like early access or the demo there at retail, and have said that like the individual, I think they're called like the bonus courses or something like that, like sort of the bonus rooms of this game,
Yep.
That they have like different like versions of difficulty. Like you can get 1 golden banana or bananium gem, or you can get like 3 if you do like a better time, or depending on what the challenge is. So I feel like there will be a lot of like altering, like completionist kind of challenge there for us old timers. But yeah, what are you expecting out of the challenge and the difficulty going into this game, Justin?
So as for what I want with the difficulty, this might get me canceled, but I'm okay if a game is easy. Like some of my favorite games, in a video, I have a video going up soon that mentions them. But there's SpongeBob Battle for Bikini Bottom, random game, super super easy, but it's one of the games that I grew up with, and the remake is one of the games that I platinumed. It is not a hard game at all. And I don't need games to be hard to feel rewarding to me. I completely understand if someone likes a challenge, right? But just the act of progressing the story, the act of collecting things, DK64, the act of just doing anything gives me that satisfaction and gives me that little dopamine hit. And so I don't need my game to be absolutely bone-breaking in difficulty. That being said, 90% of Donkey Kong games have been back-breakingly difficult, and so I am at least expecting a challenge on the level of Odyssey, or at least a little bit more, because everything that we have to compare it to, even Jungle Beat, I'd argue Jungle Beat is super hard just because of the way that it had to handle. But you look at every single Donkey Kong Country, 64, Jungle Beat, even Tropical Freeze and Returns HD, they are all very difficult to a certain degree. And so I think that at least expecting that is understandable. And even if it's not, I'm okay with it, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, no, totally. And actually, I do want to say, going back to that IGN article, Motokura actually said something really interesting. So he said, so one thing that I do want to mention is that when we first considered making a new Donkey Kong game, we really wanted to think about how we would pull in lots of new players, kind of like Justin was talking about like these new elements and kind of accessible difficulty. He said, so we have a lot of interesting gameplay elements here, but also we wanted to give people some flexibility in terms of choosing a difficulty level that they feel comfortable with. We wanted to find a way to please those fans of the really hard stages in the past Donkey Kong games, as well as welcome people who may or may not be new to the genre of action and platformer games. So, as we said before, giving people the chances to make the decision about whether they want to raise different skills, for example. If it's someone who is experienced in action games, they may choose to enhance or embellish an exciting skill. Whereas if it's someone somewhat new, they might go ahead and, raise their life for survivability because of the challenge of the game. So that really is reassuring to me. It really, it feels like there's that accessibility there, where like you can kind of choose your own difficulty and assist mode, but at the same time, the skills are there. This is really a new thing, almost to platformers in general. Like just having a skill tree where you can kind of like, I guess ukulele had like tonics and things like that, but in a 3D platformer where you can actually personally kind of change your skills according to your gameplay style, and I think that's just brilliant. Takahashi also chimed in and said, and for those who have found Donkey Kong games in the past to be really difficult, we do also want to mention assist mode, which allows you to adjust the difficulty as well. And if I were to bring up something that I just wanted to mention specifically, it would be talking about different prototype experiments, saying how they did testing on different kinds of voxel destruction, which I guess voxel destruction kind of describes like in Mario Odyssey, for instance, when you walk through snow or interactable things like the dirt, how you could like kind of make a path to snow. So that's why a lot of people say like it has the DNA of that team, but really it's actually that same engine, just kind of like pushing it kind of further. But yeah, it's really, really reassuring. He said it will fit like a unique gameplay experience, and it's really reassuring to hear that like both with co-op play and assist mode, that it allows for some adjustment of difficulty. So I mean that's really awesome. Motakira did go on to actually also himself bring up co-op play that allows for 2 players to play at the same time, and I think this is something that also allows for adjustment of difficulty as well. So we're hoping that people could either play with a friend if you have a child that really likes Donkey Kong but maybe won't be able to access or play out the game on their own, which leads to some really good experiences, which I agree totally. Like if you ever played or seen any videos of like Odyssey or Galaxy or even Ukulele, when an adult can play with a kid, like that's just some heartwarming stuff, man. I absolutely love that. So going on to a little bit of, we're getting back to the K rule kind of Kremling section. So I do want to kind of like, while I have Justin here, talk a little bit about the K rule potential. So if I'm going to discuss my personal view, I think that as far as K rule, I will just say the K rule reference potential is astronomical. Like, I think at this point with the Kremlings or whatever these gold-esque skeletons are, I feel like it's too on the nose to not at least have a reference to the Kremling crew and K. Rool himself. Personally, myself, I think that there will be, you can quote me on this, I think there will absolutely be Kremling and K. Rool references in this game. Is K. Rool in this game? I honestly, obviously can't say. Oh, we have to wait a few days for that. But yeah, I think like the potential is off the charts. Right now, I still have the head set on the fact that I truly do think the Crocoids have connection to the Kremlings. I think it's just too, as I said, on the nose. And I 100% believe that there will be K. Rool references in this, whether it's K. Rool in a skeletal form, whether it's that he has a part to play in the story, I don't know. But I feel like at least in Endgame, we're gonna know something. I think there's gonna be something in here. Void Kong and Void Co. I will say this, I do really like those guys, but like if K. Rool is even referenced in this game, I'll lose my mind. But and if K. Rool is in here as like a Crocoid or something like that, or like they have like lore potential, I'll absolutely lose it. But much like the Smash inclusion, if K. Rool is in this in a substantial form that affects the lore, I will probably cry. I'm not gonna beat around the bush. I will probably cry like a child. So I don't know. What are you thinking, Justin? Like, what do you think as far as K. Rool's potential? How do you think they're going to represent the game, or what are your theories there?
Oh man, so like you said it very well. It's too on the nose. You have the Crocoids, you have these skeletal crocodiles, you have the crocodile imagery, you have the big. I don't know if it was. I think it was either Compendium or Too Crispy that mentioned the Grumpy Kong boss fight that has like the giant Crocoid boss, whatever, in front of him. And it's got one eye is bigger than the other. The belt looks just like his cape. He has this yellow liquid coming out of his head that looks just like his crown. I think that just everything that we've seen has been far too on the nose to just be a coincidence. And we have to remember who's in charge of this game. They've probably played Donkey Kong Country, and they made Odyssey, like if not the most respected Mario game of all time, with the characters and the locations and just everything. And so I think, like you said, if he doesn't show up, then I'm not mad. But I think he's definitely going to be referenced. I think the Kremlings are going to be referenced. But if I had to pick a side, I think he and the Kremlings will show up, because they have shown a surprisingly small amount of what we're actually, what we're going to get. There's a reason that over half of the mini direct for the game was all about showing you the new moves, because they're not going to give away the story. Like, as of right now, it's us versus Voidco, right? That's the story. But we really don't know anything. And I think that they're absolutely doing that on purpose. And I kind of want to just compare this to, like, I don't know, let's say like WandaVision or Spider-Man No Way Home or Doctor Strange 2. It's kind of a weird comparison. But with those movies going in, like, there were these wild theories and these wild expectations. And I've always said that there's absolutely nothing wrong with theorizing. That's what can bring a community together. Talking and just having these really fun conversations about what you want to happen is one of the best things to keep a game alive, to keep people talking about a certain property. But the moment that people start expecting it and judging the enjoyment of a property based on what happens in the game having to be what they want to happen is where we start to run into issues. And so I will say, do I think K. Rool will be in it? 100% I do. Do I think the Kremlings will be here? I do. But will I enjoy the game any less at all if they are not even referenced, if they don't show up? No. I will enjoy it just as much because it's still a new Donkey Kong game and because I'm not making the game. So at the end of the day, I don't get to make those calls. But do I think that we have been shown stuff that absolutely leads us to believe that they will be here? 100% I do.
Well, you heard it here first, folks. Justintendo wants to go out and say that the K. Rool will be in this game. but no, you know what? I mean, dude, you said that really well. I can't help but besides, you know what? I can't help but agree. Besides the fact that, like, if you guys know Kiwi Talks, Reese Riley, he actually put something, I think, on Blue Sky or Twitter. And Kiwi Talks, another great channel. He interviews a lot of video game devs. I just watched Mick Gordon, the composer of Doom. Great stuff. He goes and posts on, I think, his Twitter saying, DK Bananza is being developed by a new team that was spun off from the Odyssey team. There are a lot of younger devs on the Odyssey team that grew up playing the DKC games and wanted to make one. I've heard the Kremlings are making a return. 3D Mario is still on the way. So if this guy's quite credible, Reese Wright, if that's anything to go off of, I mean, yeah, like you said, I firmly believe, whether or not he's in here as a character, K. Rool himself in the form that we know, I just feel like we've seen the freaking Northern Hemisphere. Like, I did not think, if you would have asked me even like a day before they revealed the Donkey Kong game, if a new Donkey Kong would reveal, or rather reference Donkey Kong Country 3 in almost any way, I would have told you were crazy.
Literally.
But no, like, it's prominent. Like, these fossil maps are completely built around that map concept. It's incredible. So I feel like, in dwelling into a little bit of the plot of DKC3, the whole thing around that was that even some of the scarce marketing for it, they didn't show K. Rool. It was chaos. It was all
very
chaos
true.
Is the new big bad, and it turned out to be K. Rool in the end. I'm not advocating that that's happening here, but I'm just saying it seems a little suspicious.
That's a very great comparison there.
Yeah, and I will say, like, so Takahashi has actually said, both in that interview and he's posted online, saying, one game that I particularly spent a lot of time researching in preparation for this project was Donkey Kong Country and the Donkey Kong Country series. I think that Donkey Kong Country brought a lot of interesting innovations as a game, and the two of those that really stood out to me are the barrel cannons and the minecarts, which, as you guys have probably seen, appear to be both prominent in the gameplay. They have sections. I'm really curious how they're going to implement the minecart sections, but they have sections of that and of barrel cannons as well. So I think just to support, like, the idea, and like you said, even if it's not how we expect, I just fully, and expectations, like you brought up, are a thing that are dangerous. I think that's almost why I'm kind of on the fence. I don't want to expect anything, because what I do expect at the end of the day is that this game will be fun, and this will be a great journey for Donkey Kong fans and new fans alike. So that is my expectations. But as far as, like, K. Rool and Kremlings, I do expect references, and it's almost as if we've seen any just without confirmation, but I do expect references. And obviously what they're saying about in that interview as well, which I'll put on the screen, about how they kind of delved into past Donkey Kong games and bringing up Rare themselves and their contributions and Miyamoto's contributions. Like, they obviously value that time period, which is something that I love the retro games, but it's something that some of us older Donkey Kong fans, we can't say has been super present in the IP for quite some time. Like, these guys respect the legacy of Donkey Kong. So I think as far as seeing more references, it's like, it's going to happen. We're going to see, whether it be the Kremlings or not, I truly believe, but we're going to see, probably more animal buddies. We're going to see love and affection for both the Rare games and the past of Donkey Kong in general there. So talking more about, like, not specifically K. Rool and the Kremlings, but kind of like our hopes for the game. Honestly, myself, I mean, we did discuss, like, the barrel blasting that was present in that first trailer there. As far as, like, Endgame, there's a lot of, like I said, potential for these surprises. I don't know what they're going to do, but I'm knowing the Odyssey team and like how these guys branched off of that team. I really feel like the end game is going to be pretty hype, if not even the mid game. As Justin brought up, like Voidco themselves don't even seem like they're going to play out as, at least as a crew, to be the big bads. I mean, clearly they are great characters, and I actually love the animations and personality going into it. But when you beat Grumpy Kong, it almost seems like he's folding. Like he's just like, you beat me fair and square, or something to that extent. Like, go ahead, take this, I guess. And so I wonder how that will kind of work out. Grumpy Kong himself kind of reminds me of the Manky Kongs.
Agreed.
From DKC1, like those orangutans that are kind of Kongs, but they're not really in the Kong clan, you know? So yeah, some potential there for some really cool story aspects. But I really do hope that there is an after game section, kind of in the vein of like how Odyssey did it. If you ever got to the after game of Odyssey, like you were able to go to Mushroom Kingdom and see like a new interpretation of like Peach's Castle and like references to Mario 64 and like even a retro skin that I believe you unlock in that section. Like, just really good fan service. And just like I said, going off of the trailer, when you see that barrel blasting section, it almost looks like it takes place in like a jungle setting, if not on DK Island itself. So I really, as far as hopes, I really hope there is a good after game, and maybe even just going back to DK Isle. That would be really special to me.
You literally took exactly what I was thinking and put it into words. I think that we have the same team working on Odyssey. We have, like you said in that interview, that they studied Donkey Kong Country. These people grew up with that trilogy, right? They are roughly, they're a little bit older than us, but they're young. They're young enough to have grown up with them and understood how important they were, not only to the industry, but just how to make a good game. And so I think putting all of those things together, I think if there is no end game, I'll be slightly disappointed, but also, and I'm comparing this to a 27-year-old game at this point, but like Donkey Kong 64, to a lot of people, that game's end game was going back and getting the golden bananas they couldn't, that they didn't need to beat the game at the time, right? And so if that's the end game, like going back and getting all the Banandium gems that you missed, going back and getting all the other collectibles or whatever this game has that you didn't get the first time, I would be okay with that because I actually like that. But if the end game, like you said, is DK Isle from Donkey Kong's first Nintendo 64 outing, just like in Mario Odyssey, how the Mushroom Kingdom was, that was it from Mario's first Nintendo 64 outing, and you got the costume. If they do that with DK Isle and you get a Donkey Kong 64 outfit, which I can 100% see them doing, like it's literally just a render of him, because that's exactly what it was in Mario Odyssey. It is literally his render from 64 put in the game. And this is a team that is passionate. It's a team that clearly is listening, is paying attention to what we're thinking, to what we want, and how glowingly we responded to Odyssey. I think that I'm not going to say I expect it, but I will not be surprised if that does indeed come to pass.
Yeah, that's kind of like you said about DK64, like kind of like the after game is, hey, do you want to go through this whole thing? And I will tell you, Justin, like having just played 101%, if you ever do go back and play DK64, they reward you on a replay having gotten all the banana fairies. Like you can then bypass the ammunition, bypass the crystal coconuts, bypass the grenades. It's so much more forgiving and another rewarding aspect of full completion. So like I agree with you. Like there's two ways to kind of go about it. It's like they could go the DKC1 and the DK64 route, where it's like you can go back and complete all this and get full completion, or they might even go like the Donkey Kong Country 3, 2, Returns, and Tropical Freeze, where like there is actually more worlds, there's more levels, there's more content that you earn, like the Lost World, etc. Which I will say, the Lost World is also known as the Kremlin Core. A little bit suspicious, but moving on. But yeah, so I feel like there's a lot of potential for that as well. And as far as like you said, the Odyssey team, if Odyssey is anything to go off of, I feel like either way, these guys will not disappoint. And I'm sure after game, at least completionist, if nothing else, will have some rewarding aspects there. But yeah, so do you have any other hopes or like expectations that you expect, Justin? Or
not anything crazy. I mean, I just want it to be fun. I want it to be semi-long. Like I spent 25 hours with with DK64, and I felt more than satisfied with that.
Mhm.
But I'm excited because we're obviously going to get cutscenes. I can't wait for that. I can't believe we're going to get it in the Donkey Kong game. Like throughout the game, it looks like. I can't wait for the voice acting. Other than what we talked about with the Kremlings and everything, I just want a game that not only respects the material, but also respects the timeline and the audience and doesn't leave a ton of things unanswered. But judging by who we have at the wheel, making this game, I don't feel like we're going to finish the game not knowing why Pauline is 13. I don't think we're going to end the game not knowing where the Kremlings are or where we are or why we have seen DK Isle on the map screen of the game. I think it's going to answer a lot of questions, and I think it's going to be a very, maybe not very story-based game, but very story-based compared to what we've gotten in this franchise so far.
Yeah, it's in very story-based for I wouldn't say Nintendo. They have some plot and lore in their games, but for Nintendo platformers themselves, I totally agree. Even Odyssey, there's some really cool little lore elements, but Bowser wasn't trying to marry Peach to get jurisdiction of all these kingdoms. He was just trying to marry Peach.
Yep, I can't blame him, right?
Yep. So you never know where Nintendo will go on it, but yeah, I totally agree. And going into just some of our last final thoughts and some more hopes for it, I will say though, Justin and I have played together, and we were actually talking about it before we opened here about Mario Kart World. I think another really big potential thing that they could add to, I truly believe it is kind of odd for Pauline and DK to be really I think the only two characters that exclusively have one. Obviously some side character NPCs don't have costumes, but of all the main crew, I think DK and Pauline are the only two that have one costume each. And I feel I don't know if there's potential for characters, but honestly, there's at least potential, but I don't know what Nintendo will do. But I still have a feeling Mario Kart will kind of follow up with some content if it's not directly revolving around Bonanza, something I'm sure. But after the models Mario Kart has had with Mario Kart 8, Mario Kart Tour, and the booster packs, I truly believe that there's a really good chance for Pauline and Donkey Kong to either get some more content, more Kongs, or more, at least at the very least, more costumes there.
I 100% agree. I think it just goes back to our entire theme of it's just too on the nose to be coincidental that the two characters of the main cast, right? We're not talking about Koopa, although he does have more costumes, funnily enough. That it's literally Donkey Kong and Pauline. The two leads in Bonanza are the two characters with just one alternate costume. I think that's just a little bit too on the nose to just be how it is. So I can 100% see DLC coming for World.
Yeah, I totally agree. Any other final thoughts, hopes, or any theories? Anything to add there, Justin? Any final thoughts?
Oh, I don't think so. I can't believe, what day is it right now? We're recording Saturday. I can't believe that we are 5 days away. I truly cannot believe that in less than a week we're going to have our hands on this game. I'm speechless. It's pure hype mode now, and whenever this goes up, whenever Sunday hits, we are in the final week.
Yep. And I think the hype cycle ain't ending yet. It seems like even if you go on YouTube or social media, I'm probably going to be, in case you guys don't know, I'm sure many of us are, I'm going to be really light on the social media here in the next coming days. Just in case people get some spoilers out there. I don't remember what his name is, Proficia Gaming, something like that. That infamous guy who includes all the main bosses in his thumbnail the day before release of games. I'm going to be avoiding stuff like that if I can't help it. But
little warning to everybody though. I did see that there are a couple copies that are on eBay right now for $110. That somehow people got boxes of them early. I don't know how. But I did see someone put that on Twitter that there are a lot of copies out in the wild. And so just like Ray Remington just said, just be cautious.
Yeah, definitely. And I do want to take a moment to kind of make a DK community kind of call to action. Any of you guys listening, obviously, like I said, we'll be avoiding socials and probably trigger phrases, block some of that on socials, what have you.
Yep.
But all you guys, I'm sure Uncle Al, Kong Compendium, they're going to give us a time period of a little respect. And I would like I said, make a call to action to all you guys in the DK community. One of the most awesome communities I'm blessed to be even a small, tiny part of with this tiny channel. both the old channel and the new channel. I've seen some really great fan interactions. You guys supporting this stuff, especially the DK stuff, has really been a blessing. But let's be kind to our fellow DK fans. If people don't have the game yet, people don't have Switch 2 yet, try to go out of your way to not spoil people, because I feel like this is a really big moment for us. It's been, like I said, over a decade, 11 years now, that we've not had a new DK game. So if you guys could help it, if I could ask of anything in the community, let's try to be kind to our fellow fans, and let's try to keep the spoilers out of this conversation, at least for a while. Drew and I, my regular partner here, we'll actually be having one of our big regular Kooky Quest reviews, and we typically give that about a month. We'll give it about usually a month or two for people to play the game, have time with it. So you guys can expect that. But like, yeah, let's try to be kind, community spoiler wise there. And as far as like our content, like I said before, if you guys haven't checked out Justintendo, definitely do so. He's one of the main super fan friends of DK that like I watch and have come to know here in the community. Justin, do you have anything that you want to mention or plug or anything like that?
I don't. Follow me on Twitter, follow me on Blue Sky. Obviously, subscribe, and obviously subscribe to this channel as well where you're seeing this video. Amazing content, and truly one of my best friends that I have met on the internet. And again, this community is amazing. And if you do have a Discord, I mean, I did it in mine as well. It's just as simple as making a separate channel for spoilers for Bananza that people can easily mute. So don't flood your general or whatever with spoilers. Like, if you have to talk about it, do it in a place where you know that, hey, I don't want to spoil this for anyone else. I know you've played the game and you've seen this part. Let's do it in this channel that's specifically dedicated to spoilers, that's muted for everybody unless they unmute it. So yeah, I really like that you brought that up, because not very often do you see a franchise as big as this with a new game for the first time in over a decade, and the first 3D in almost 30 years. So, and I feel like spoilers are going to be big. So just be careful and be kind.
Yeah, and like we said before, like Motokura and Takahashi was saying, like they pulled a lot of stuff from the past. They even said it in that interview there. So, I mean, the potential is insane. The surprises are going to be there. Be kind to your fellow DK fans, my friends. But you know what? With that, I do want to say we do have the crew Discord server. We're going to be hosting some more Mario Kart World events, and we'll be doing Donkey Kong TV series watch party here soon. Maybe even the day before Bananza comes out. But if you guys want to keep up with some of our Kooky questions, Kooky content over there, go ahead and join the Discord server. I'll have both that and Justin's socials in the description there. If you like this video, I appreciate you guys watching it. If you like this video, give us a like, a subscribe. Give us some of your thoughts and your hopes in the comments there, or any of your theories. What do you guys want? What do you guys expect? What do you hope for in Donkey Kong Bananza here coming out this week? Let me know in the comments. It really helps our channel a lot. I want to thank you all for the support. I want to thank Justin for being a part of this conversation, man. We've been trying to get you on this, well, not really trying, but we've been wanting to get you on this show for quite some time. I really appreciate you coming on and making the time, man. Absolutely.
Collaborating is might be my favorite thing to do. It's just so fun. Talking to people it's what I do.
Same here, man. It's what we base our channel off of. But yeah, with that, I just want to wrap up and say thank you so much, both to our community and to the DK community as a whole. Like a lot of these guys I mentioned before, Uncle Al, Kong Compendium, Too Crispy, Justin himself. Check them out. We'll have more content coming up later. And with that, thank you all for watching, and you all have a great day. From me, Drew, and the rest of the Kooky crew, appreciate you guys watching, and you have a good one.